I knew I was in love with Ted when I'd known him for quite a while because he was one of the nicest people that I felt I'd ever met, and I always liked to be with him. And I think when you think if you meet a person that you think you could be with them day and night, well, that's the one for you, and that's how I knew it. And I think he was the same because he never let me out of his sight. And that was it. From the day I met him to the day he died, I don't think he ever looked at anyone else. When Ted was young, when I first met him, because he actually got called up in the war on his 18th birthday, he didn't get a birthday card, he got a letter in the mail that he got called up and had to go to the war. I met him at a dance. My sister and I used to go to lots of dances. When I was young and met him, I was from a family of 6 children. But when I went over to meet him, the funniest thing was I nearly dropped dead, because when I get over there was all these children and I thought I was in an orphanage. There were 13 of them, but there had actually been 16, but some babies had died at birth. My husband, when I met him, never ever for years spoke anything about all his experiences. He was in the 24th Battalion, the Red and White Diamond Army unit, and he was up in the Kokoda Trail and all in Papua New Guinea, and he never ever spoke about anything. Because I was, in those days when you were a Catholic and met someone else, maybe you were treated a little bit, I felt, as if you had the plague, and there was always a little bit of animosity, usually not on the Catholic person's part, but on the other person's part. When I was going with Ted, I was only young, and I went with him for a year, and then we decided we would get married. In those days, everyone got married very young, and you didn't ever live together. There was none of this try before you buy business. You just got married. We were engaged for 12 months, which was usually the normal thing to do, and get ready for the wedding, and then we had the wedding. And I was 19 when I got married. I didn't have any hard-hearted feelings towards his family or brothers and sisters. When the wedding was on, they didn't come to the church. And when we got to the reception, which my mother had paid for, and she was a widow, they decided to all line up for the wedding breakfast. But it was just a terrible thing that they weren't there. It was not a very nice thing to do. But it didn't worry me. He would have been sick, he would have felt terrible, because he was a very sensitive person, very sensitive. He was a person who liked to be liked, and he liked to be treated properly, and it was just, so it actually made him more leaning towards the Catholic faith. Actually, he became a Catholic. I didn't ask him to, but he became a Catholic. And he died a Catholic, and he loved his faith. When we had our first baby, we were just in seventh heaven. It was absolutely wonderful. And then from then we progressed, and later on we were able to build a home. We had 3 children. The eldest one is named Jennifer. The next one, a daughter named Veronica, and then a son named Anthony. Ted was a most loving father. He didn't just come in from work and pat them on the head and go and sit down and read the paper. He would come in at night and he would help bath the children and everything. He lived for the children. He did lots of things for them. He loved his grandchildren, and of all the grandchildren he's got, there's not one that I felt didn't like him. They loved Papa, as they called him. Ted was always interested in doing work and everything, but his main hobby, I think, was he loved gardening. He was always in the garden, wherever we lived. When I met Ted, he had been in the hospital for a long time, and he was suffering from depression. They were told not to talk about it. You just went away and got about your business and forgot about it all. And I think a lot of lot of the soldiers, especially my husband, he was always a bit nervy, and I think he carried those worries with him to the end of his days. And a lot of them were never ever the same. They weren't the same boys that went into the army as when they came out again. They were shot at by the snipers. There'd be dead soldiers around, so my husband would have to go around and take what they call their dog tags. When I got married to Ted, all the years we were together, it worked out, it was about 53 years that we were together when he died. And those 53 years, we had our ups and downs like everybody else would have, but they were really, truly happy. In life, I've always looked on the bright side of things. As I said years ago, that's how it always helped my marriage. I never looked on the bad side. And when Ted got really sick at the end, I would say the last 3 years before he died, I still didn't believe. I knew he wasn't well, but I didn't believe it was going to be the end. I just didn't believe that he was going to go. If I was to say something to Papa now or give him a message, I would say, Papa, Ted, we're all well here on earth, every one of us, and the grandchildren are all happy and well, and all thinking of you, and we know you'd be thinking of us. And it's a well-known fact that one day all of us won't be on earth anyway, and we'll be with you.